The notification sound from my wife's laptop cut through the silence of our home office like a gunshot. I wasn't snooping. I was literally just trying to find the tax documents she'd promised to leave for me on her desk. The screen was still lit, password unlocked, and there it was. A messaging app I'd never seen before, with a conversation that made my blood run cold. Can't wait to feel you again tomorrow. Same hotel? The message was from someone named Brett. My hands started shaking as I scrolled up, my eyes racing through weeks of exchanges. Detailed plans, explicit descriptions of what they'd done together, what they wanted to do next. Times, dates, locations, all meticulously documented in their own words while I'd been working 60-hour weeks to pay for the lake house she'd insisted we needed. I grabbed my phone and started taking pictures. Every message, every photo she'd sent him, every hotel receipt she'd carelessly left in the chat history. My photographer's instinct kicked in. Steady hands, proper lighting, clear focus. 23 screenshots in total before I heard her car pulling into the driveway. My wife Amber didn't know I was home. I'd left the office early with a migraine, something that rarely happened. Pure chance. Dumb luck. Divine intervention. Whatever you want to call it, that headache probably saved me from years more of living a lie. I closed the laptop exactly as I'd found it, grabbed a random folder from her desk, and walked downstairs to the kitchen. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it might crack a rib. 15 years of marriage, 2 kids, a mortgage, joint accounts. Her parents living in our guest house out back. Our entire lives were woven together so tightly I couldn't see where I ended, and we began. The front door opened. "Honey, you home?" I took a breath and stepped into the hallway. Amber stood there in her yoga outfit, the expensive kind from that boutique downtown. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail, face flushed from what I'd assumed was exercise. Now I wondered if she'd even gone to yoga at all. "Yeah, came home early. Headache," I said, surprised by how normal my voice sounded. She walked over and kissed my cheek. The same perfume she'd worn on our first date. The same lips that had whispered vows to me in front of 300 people. "Poor baby, want me to get you some ibuprofen?" "Already took some." "Hey, did you leave those tax documents out? Can't find them." "Oh, shoot, they're still in my car. I'll grab them tomorrow." She squeezed my shoulder and headed toward the stairs. "I'm going to shower. Dinner at 7? I watched her disappear up the steps, and something inside me cracked. Not broke, cracked. Like ice on a frozen lake when the temperature finally shifts. I could feel the fissures spreading through everything I thought I knew about my life. My phone buzzed. A text from my daughter Emily at college. "Can you Venmo me $200? Textbooks are insane this semester." I sent the money without thinking, muscle memory from 17 years of being a father. Emily was a sophomore at State. Our son Tyler was in 8th grade, probably at basketball practice right now. Both of them had Amber's eyes and my stubborn chin. Both of them were about to have their world imploded. The shower started running upstairs. I pulled out my phone and looked at the screenshots again, making sure they were backed up to the cloud. Making sure they were real. Part of me still hoped I'd imagined it, that I'd wake up and this would be some stress-induced nightmare. But there it was. Message after message. "My husband's working late again. He never touches me like you do. Sometimes I think about leaving him, but the kids." That last one hit differently. She'd considered leaving. She'd discussed our children with this man. With Brett, whoever the hell he was. I opened my laptop and created a new encrypted folder, uploaded all the screenshots, changed all my passwords, bank accounts, email, everything. I'd read enough stories on the internet to know that the spouse who moves first usually moves best. The one who prepares wins. Amber came downstairs 40 minutes later in fresh clothes, hair still damp. She smiled at me the same way she had for 15 years. Feeling better? Yeah, much better. Good. I'm thinking pasta for dinner. Tyler should be home by 6:30. I watched her move around the kitchen, pulling out ingredients, humming something under her breath. She seemed lighter somehow, happier than she'd been in months. I'd attributed it to her new yoga routine, her book club, her me time, that I'd actively encouraged because I wanted her to be fulfilled. How long had I been the fool? How many of those late yoga classes were actually hotel visits? How many girls' nights out were really nights with him? My phone was already in my hand, Google search bar open. Divorce attorney Richmond, Virginia. 32 results in our area. I started reading reviews, taking notes, looking for someone who specialized in infidelity cases. Someone who understood Virginia's fault-based divorce laws. Because if Amber thought she could have her cake and eat it too, keep the comfortable life I'd built while getting her thrills on the side, she was about to learn a very expensive lesson. Tyler burst through the door at 6:30, sweaty and loud, basketball tucked under his arm. "Dad, Coach says I might start next game." I hugged my son, smelling the teenage boy combination of body spray and gym socks. "That's fantastic, buddy." Amber kissed the top of his head. "Go shower before dinner. You smell like a locker room." We sat down to dinner at 7 like a normal family, like nothing was wrong, like my wife hadn't spent the afternoon planning her next rendezvous with her lover. I ate pasta and made small talk and laughed at Tyler's stories about his teammates, all while the screenshots burned a hole in my phone. The library card felt like evidence in my pocket as I drove home from the loop. Just a routine Wednesday afternoon. I'd stopped by the Harold Washington Library to renew a photography book on architectural composition, something I'd been using for a downtown project. The kind of errand Amber never knew about because she'd stopped asking about my work months ago. Mrs. Patel, the circulation librarian who'd helped me for years, had scanned my card with her usual efficiency. Then she'd paused, looking at her screen with an expression I couldn't quite read. "Mr. Coleman, I need to mention something." She'd glanced around the checkout area, lowering her voice. "Your wife's card has some irregularities I thought you should know about." My stomach had dropped before I understood why. "What kind of irregularities?" "Our system logs booth usage in the reading rooms. For privacy, for capacity management." She'd adjusted her glasses, clearly uncomfortable. "Mrs. Coleman has been reserving study booth 7 every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon for the past 3 months. Always the same time slot. Always with the same guest pass registered to a Mr. Trevor Walsh." The photography book had felt heavy in my hands. "They check out romance novels," Mrs. Patel had continued, her voice barely audible. "Pass them back and forth. The system tracks it when books move between cards in the same location. Same booth, same time, every week." I wouldn't normally say anything, but she'd printed something, sliding it across the counter. "You've always been kind to me. I thought you should know." The printout showed 3 months of data. Booth reservations, shared book checkouts, timestamps that coincided perfectly with Amber's yoga classes on Tuesdays and book club on Thursdays. I'd thanked Mrs. Patel quietly and left. Now, sitting in our driveway at 4 in the afternoon, I stared at the printout. The library's digital ledger had logged everything with bureaucratic precision. Study booth 7, reserved under Amber's card. Guest pass for Trevor Walsh, added each session. Romance novels checked out to her card, then transferred to his, then back again. The Duke's Secret Desire. Passion in the Highlands. Forbidden Summer, Cozy Corner reads. That's what Mrs. Patel had called them, her tone making it clear she knew exactly what those private booth sessions involved. I pulled out my phone and searched Trevor Walsh, Chicago. Found him in 30 seconds. A financial analyst at a firm 2 blocks from the library. LinkedIn showed a guy about my age, expensive suit, practice smile. His profile mentioned he was an avid reader and supporter of Chicago's literary culture. Apparently, that support included my wife. The front door opened. Amber appeared on the porch, waving. "Hey, you're home early. Everything okay?" I folded the printout and got out of the car. "Fine. Finished the shoot faster than expected." She kissed my cheek when I reached her, smelling like the jasmine perfume she'd started wearing recently. The same perfume that had been new when the booth reservation started. "I'm just heading out to book club," she said, grabbing her purse from the hall table. "Should be back by 7. Thursday afternoon, 4 o'clock. "Which book are you discussing?" I asked, my voice perfectly normal. "Oh, it's a romance this week. Something about a Scottish duke," she laughed. "Pretty trashy, honestly, but fun. The Duke's Secret Desire. Currently checked out to her library card, according to the printout in my pocket." "Have fun," I said. I watched her drive away, then went straight to my office. The printout went on my desk next to the other evidence I'd been collecting. Screenshots of Brett's messages, hotel receipts, credit card statements. Now I had Trevor too. 2 affairs, or 1 affair with 2 names. I pulled up the message screenshots again, searching for any mention of the library, of Tuesdays and Thursdays. Nothing. Brett's messages were all about weekend meetings, evening hotel visits, Wednesday afternoon errands. Different days entirely. My hands started shaking. 2 different men. 2 separate affairs, running on different schedules. Brett for weekends and evenings. Trevor for Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, hidden in a library reading booth under the cover of yoga classes and book clubs. I sat down hard, staring at both sets of evidence. How long had I been this blind? The library printout showed the first booth reservation dated back 3 months. Brett's messages went back 5 weeks. She'd started the library affair first, then added Brett. Or maybe there were others I hadn't found yet. I photographed every page of the library printout, backed it up to my cloud storage with the rest. Then I opened a new document and started making notes. Timeline, evidence, patterns. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. Trevor Walsh, Study Booth 7, Harold Washington Library. Wednesday afternoons, weekend evenings, Brett, various hotels, explicit messages. Friday mornings, yoga class that I'd never verified. How many others? How many lies? My phone buzzed. Emily, asking for grocery money via Venmo. I sent it automatically, my photographer's hands steady, despite the rage building in my chest. Tyler would be home from basketball practice in an hour. I needed to look normal, act normal. The same performance I'd been giving since finding Brett's messages, now with an additional layer of betrayal to conceal. I went to the kitchen and started dinner. Chicken stir-fry, Tyler's favorite. The routine motions helped. Chopping vegetables, heating the wok, measuring soy sauce. My mind kept circling back to the library booth, to Amber sitting close to Trevor Walsh, passing romance novels back and forth like high school notes. The intimacy of it felt worse than the explicit messages from Brett. This was planned, scheduled, ritualized. 3 months of Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, the same booth, the same performance. Tyler burst through the door at 5:30, sweaty and loud. "Dad! Coach says I might start next game." "That's great, buddy." I managed to smile, flipping chicken in the wok. "Go shower before dinner." He thundered upstairs. I plated food, set the table, poured water. The same domestic ritual I'd performed 1,000 times, now feeling like a play where only I knew the script had changed. Amber came home at 7:15, flushed and happy. "Sorry I'm late. We got really into discussing the book." She kissed the top of Tyler's head, then mine. "Something smells good." "How was book club?" I asked, passing her a plate. Really fun. We're doing another romance next week. The librarian recommended it. Mrs. Patel probably, who knew exactly what Amber was doing in study booth 7. We ate dinner. Tyler talked about basketball. Amber mentioned she needed to return some library books tomorrow, maybe pick up something new. I nodded and asked if she wanted more chicken. After dinner, after Tyler went upstairs to his homework and Amber settled in the living room with her laptop, I went back to my office. Pulled up Trevor Walsh's information again. His firm's website listed his direct office number. I didn't call. Not yet. But I saved the number. Then I looked up the library's policies. Late fees, maximum fines, card suspension procedures. Checked our joint credit card statement and found a $50 payment to the Chicago Public Library from 2 weeks ago. Overdue fines Amber had paid without mentioning. For books she'd kept too long, probably because she was too busy with Brett to return them on schedule. An idea started forming. I opened a new document and began typing, cross-referencing the library printout with our credit card statements, with Amber's calendar, with the timestamps on Brett's messages, building a complete picture of her schedule, her lies, her systematic deception. The photographer in me understood documentation, proper lighting, clear focus, steady hands. I'd been gathering evidence of Brett for days. Now I had Trevor, too. 2 affairs, twice the betrayal, twice the ammunition. But I needed more than just knowledge. I needed leverage. I pulled up the library's website again, studying their policies more carefully. Overdue books, accrued fines at $2 per day, maximum of $50 per book. Card suspension after $100 in unpaid fines. Liens filed with the city for unpaid balances over $200. My hands stopped shaking. The rage crystallized into something cold and focused. Amber had built her affairs on routine, on scheduled deception hidden in plain sight. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons in a library booth. Wednesday evenings and weekends with Brett. All of it documented, time-stamped, logged by systems she'd never thought about. She'd used the library as cover, made it part of her alibi, her respectable life. I could use that. I started making a new list, this one outlining steps instead of evidence. The anger felt different now, not hot and chaotic, but ice-cold and methodical. She'd been so careful with her scheduling, so organized in her betrayal. I could be organized too. The library's website had a patron privacy policy page that I'd read 3 times. It outlined how circulation records were confidential, protected under Illinois state law. But there were exceptions. Court orders, subpoenas, and, most interesting, billing disputes requiring verification of services rendered. I sat in my home office Wednesday evening, Tyler's basketball practice noise filtering up from the driveway where he was shooting hoops with the neighborhood kids. Amber had left 20 minutes ago for what she'd called wine night with the girls. Her phone's location showed her heading toward the Riverside Hotel downtown. Brett, presumably. Not Trevor. They had their schedule. I pulled up the library's online account management system. Logged into Amber's card. I'd reset her password 2 days ago using the email account I now controlled. The transaction history loaded slowly, each line a small detonation. Study room reservation, booth 7, $5 Zors. Study room reservation, booth 7, $5 Zors. Study room reservation, booth 7, $5 Zors. 47 separate charges over 3 months. $235 in $5 increments, each one time-stamped. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, 2 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., like clockwork. But the real gold wasn't in the reservations, it was in the late fees. Amber had 17 books currently checked out. The romance novels Mrs. Patel had mentioned, plus biography, self-help, cooking, the kind of aspirational reading she displayed on our coffee table but never actually finished. Due dates ranged from 2 weeks overdue to 43 days passed. The system calculated fines automatically, 10 cents per day per item, capping at $5 per book, $85 in accumulated fines. The account showed 3 email reminders sent, all to the address I now monitored. She'd been ignoring them. I leaned back in my chair, thinking. The library's policy stated that accounts with fines exceeding $50 were suspended until payment was received. No checkouts, no renewals, no room reservations. And accounts delinquent for more than 90 days were sent to collections, which would appear on credit reports. Amber's card was still active, barely. She'd paid $20 2 weeks ago, just enough to drop below the suspension threshold. Enough to keep booking Booth 7. I opened a new browser tab and pulled up the library's room reservation system. Booth 7's calendar showed availability for next Tuesday and Thursday. No reservation yet. Amber usually booked them on Friday afternoons, I'd noticed. A week in advance, like she was scheduling a business meeting. My phone buzzed. Emily. Dad. Can you Venmo me $80? Textbooks for summer class registration. I sent the money, added a note. Good luck with finals. Love you. Her response came immediately. Thanks. Mom said you guys might visit for parents' weekend in fall? My hands went still on the keyboard. Amber was planning that far ahead. Fall semester, 4 months away. Parents' weekend at State, walking around campus with Emily, pretending everything was fine. Probably scheduling her library sessions around it. Making sure Brett and Trevor knew she'd be unavailable. We'll see how schedules look, I typed. Focus on your exams. I closed the message and returned to the library account. There was a link I'd noticed earlier. Report lost or stolen card. I clicked it, read the policy. If a card was reported lost, the account was immediately frozen pending verification of identity. The patron had to appear in person with photo ID to receive a replacement. All holds were canceled, all reservations deleted. But that was too obvious, too traceable to me if I reported it from her account. I needed something subtler. The overdue books were the key. I just needed them to become more overdue. I grabbed my jacket and headed downstairs. Tyler was in the kitchen now, emptying half the refrigerator onto the counter. Going out for a bit, I said. There's leftover pasta if you want to heat it up. Where you going? He didn't look up from constructing what appeared to be a sandwich of truly horrifying proportions. Library, returning some books. Since when do you go to the library? Since I realized we're paying fines on stuff your mother forgot about. The lie came easily now. Everything came easily. Want anything while I'm out? Nah, I'm good. He took a bite that should have required unhinging his jaw. Mom coming home soon? Late night, wine thing. I checked my phone. Her location hadn't moved from the hotel. You good here by yourself? Dad, I'm 13. Right, lock the door. Text if you need anything. The Chicago Public Library's Jefferson Park branch was a 15-minute drive. I'd never actually been inside, despite living 3 miles away for 8 years. Amber went weekly, or so she'd said. Now I knew which days were actually library days and which were Trevor days and which were Brett days. The building was smaller than I'd expected, brick and glass tucked between a dry cleaner and a tax preparation office. I parked in the side lot and sat for a moment, watching people come and go. Mothers with small children, teenagers clustered around laptops, an elderly man pushing a cart full of books toward the return slot. I'd brought 6 of Amber's books from the stack on her nightstand. Romance novels, mostly. The kind with shirtless men on the covers and titles that made me feel something between nauseous and homicidal. I'd selected the ones with the earliest due dates, the ones already racking up maximum fines. Inside, the library smelled like old paper and air conditioning. The circulation desk was to the left, staffed by a young guy with impressive facial hair and a name tag reading Josh. Not Mrs. Patel. She worked mornings, I'd learned from the staff directory online. I approached with the books, returning these for my wife. Her card's at home, but I can give you her name? No problem, just drop them in the return bin. Josh gestured to a slot in the counter. They'll get checked in tonight. Actually, I wanted to ask about the fines on her account. Amber Coleman? I spelled the last name. She's got some overdue charges and I wanted to take care of them. Josh typed, frowned at his screen. Okay, yeah. Shows $85 current balance. You want to pay that now? What happens if we don't? I mean, how long before it becomes a problem? Well, the account's already restricted. Can't check out new items until it's under 50. If it hits 90 days delinquent, we send it to collections. He said it apologetically, like he was personally responsible for the policy. And collections means credit report? Eventually, yeah. Usually there's a bunch of notices first. He pulled up another screen. Looks like we've sent 3 emails in the past month. She should have gotten those. She probably did, just forgot to mention it. I pulled out my wallet, watching Josh's screen. What if I pay half now? Would that reactivate the account? Sure, anything that brings it under 50. You want to do 43? That'd leave her at 42. Perfect. I handed him my credit card, my personal one, not our joint account. The transaction processed. Josh printed a receipt, circled the new balance. She's good to check out again. Tell her the system should update in about an hour. Thanks. Oh, one more thing. She mentioned she has a study room booked? Booth 7? I wanted to make sure that's still on the schedule. Josh typed again. Nothing's showing for her right now. Those book a week out, though. She probably just hasn't reserved it yet. Right, of course. I pocketed the receipt. Thanks for your help. I left the books on the counter and walked back to my car. Sat in the driver's seat with the engine off, thinking. $42, just under the suspension threshold. Amber could check out books again, reserve her precious Booth 7. Everything back to normal. Except I hadn't returned all 6 books. 2 of them were still in my trunk. The ones with the highest per-day fines, the ones that would push her account back over $50 in exactly 4 days. Right before Friday, when she'd try to book next week's sessions with Trevor, and I'd made sure Josh checked in only the books I'd physically handed him. The other 2 would keep accumulating fines on her account, 10 cents per day each, invisible, until she tried to log in and found herself suspended. No room reservation, no Booth 7, no Tuesday afternoon with Trevor Walsh, and whatever romance novels they pretended to read while doing God knows what in a public library study room. My phone showed Amber's location moving now, leaving the hotel. Heading home. I started the car and pulled out of the parking lot, the 2 unreturned books shifting in my trunk as I turned onto the main road. Tyler was still awake when I got home, sprawled on the couch watching something loud and violent on TV. Get your books returned? He asked without looking away from the screen. Most of them, I said, and headed upstairs before he could ask what that meant. The library closed at 9 on weeknights. I checked my watch. 7:47 p.m. Amber was upstairs giving Tyler grief about his wet towel on the bathroom floor. Their voices carried down through the heating vents, her patient exasperation, his defensive mumbling, the ordinary sounds of our ordinary life. I sat in my office with the printout Mrs. Patel had slipped me during my book renewal visit. Not an official document, just a courtesy from someone who'd seen too many spouses come through with that same hollow look. The ledger showed every study Booth 7 reservation for the past 3 months. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2 to 4 p.m., reserved under Amber's library card number. Co-occupant listed as Trevor Walsh, card number 284755193382. Mrs. Patel had whispered it while scanning my renewal. Your wife enjoys our cozy corner reads, very popular with certain patrons. Always the same booth, always the same gentleman. They pass books under the table sometimes. Romance novels, mostly. The way she'd said it, Books weren't what they were passing. I'd thanked her, my voice steady despite the ice spreading through my chest. Second affair. Different schedule, different location, different man. Brett got the hotel rooms and explicit messages. Trevor got the library booth and the pretense of literary discussion. How many others? The question sat in my throat like broken glass. I pulled up Trevor Walsh's LinkedIn on my phone. Financial analyst at Mercer and Stone. Graduated from State same year as Amber. Mutual friends visible even through privacy settings. Married, 2 kids, lived in Riverside Heights. His profile picture showed a lean runner type with graying temples and expensive glasses. Distinguished. Intellectual. Everything Brett's gym rat selfies weren't. She'd diversified her portfolio. My hands were steady as I logged into the library system using Amber's credentials. I'd reset her password 3 days ago. She still hadn't noticed. The account showed $47.80 in overdue fines from the 2 books I'd been strategically withholding payment on. The Bridges of Madison County and The Time Traveler's Wife. Fitting. The system allowed patrons to carry balances up to $50 before suspending borrowing privileges. I'd been keeping her account active at $47.80 for the past week, waiting for the right moment. Now I opened the payment portal and entered $15. Enough to look like she'd made an effort, not enough to clear her account. New balance, $32.80. Then I logged into my own account and reserved Study Booth 7 for Thursday, 2 to 4 p.m. The system accepted it. No conflicts, no warnings. Amber's standing reservation had disappeared when her account hit the fine threshold. She just didn't know it yet. I sat back, listening to Amber's footsteps on the stairs. She appeared in the doorway, ponytail slightly mussed, wearing those yoga pants that cost more than my camera bag. Tyler's finally in bed. Want some tea? Sure. I minimized the browser window. How was book club? She smiled, leaning against the doorframe. Really good discussion. We're doing Middlemarch next month. You know how I love George Eliot. Your favorite, I said. Exactly. She pushed off the frame. I'll put the kettle on. I waited until her footsteps faded toward the kitchen, then pulled the ledger printout from my desk drawer. Mrs. Patel had highlighted certain entries in yellow. February 14th, Valentine's Day. March 20th, our anniversary. April 3rd, Tyler's birthday. She'd been with Trevor Walsh in Study Booth 7, while I'd been picking up Tyler's birthday cake. The kettle whistled. I folded the printout and slipped it back into the drawer, beneath the tax documents where this had all started. Then I opened a new browser tab and searched for private investigators in Richmond. Not for surveillance. I had enough evidence to bury her in any courtroom in Virginia. But I needed to know about Trevor Walsh's wife. Name, contact information, daily routine. If Amber had diversified, so would I. The first PI's website looked professional. Former law enforcement, licensed and bonded, specialization in domestic cases. I filled out the contact form with basic details. Subject's name, workplace, suspected infidelity. I left my callback number and hit submit. Amber returned with 2 mugs of chamomile, the steam curling between us. She set mine on the desk, careful to avoid my keyboard. You've been working too hard. Your eyes look tired. Big project deadline. I wrapped my hands around the mug. Should wrap up by end of week. Good. She sipped her tea. Because I was thinking we could do something this weekend. Just us. Tyler's got that sleepover at Mason's house, and Emily's staying on campus for some study group thing. What did you have in mind? Her smile was soft, almost shy. The same smile she'd given me 15 years ago when I'd proposed at that overlook outside Charlottesville. I don't know. Dinner somewhere nice? Maybe drive out to the lake house for the night? The lake house, where Brett had promised to meet her next month when the weather's better. Where she'd texted him about skinny dipping and wine on the dock. Sounds nice, I said. Let me check my schedule. She kissed the top of my head, her hand resting briefly on my shoulder. I love you, you know that? I know. She left with her tea, humming something soft and content. I heard her settling into the living room, the quiet click of her laptop opening. Probably messaging Brett or Trevor or whoever else she had scheduled in her carefully compartmentalized life. My phone buzzed. Email notification from Blackstone Investigations. Thank you for your inquiry. We'll contact you within 24 hours to discuss your case. I deleted the email and cleared my browser history, then opened the library system again. Amber's account still showed the 3280 balance. Her next reservation attempt would trigger an automatic suspension notice. She'd receive an email explaining that her borrowing privileges were frozen until the balance was cleared. That email would arrive Thursday morning, 6 hours before her scheduled session with Trevor Walsh. I pulled up my calendar and marked Thursday, 2:00 p.m. Study booth 7. Then I opened my camera bag and checked the battery levels on my backup bodies. The Canon had a silent shutter mode, perfect for library work. Low light capability, fast autofocus. I'd need the 50mm f1.4 for the ambient exposure. Documentation. That's what divorce attorneys needed. Not just screenshots and printouts, but real-time evidence. Time-stamped, geotagged, irrefutable. I'd photographed weddings, births, graduations. All the milestones of people's lives, captured in proper light with steady hands. This would be no different. Just another assignment, another client, another story told through the viewfinder. The tea had gone cold in my hands. I set it aside and pulled up the library floor plan on my phone. Study booth 7 was in the northeast corner, second floor, near the historical archive section. Limited foot traffic, good privacy, frosted glass panels on 3 sides. The fourth side faced the main reading area through a narrow gap between the stacks. Perfect sightline for a 200mm lens. I made notes in my phone. Arrive 1:30 p.m., position in biography section, maintain clear view of booth entrance, document arrivals and departures, capture enough for positive identification but nothing explicit. Professional distance, clinical precision, just like any other job. Upstairs, Amber laughed at something on her laptop. Light and genuine, the sound I'd fallen in love with when we were both 23 and stupid with possibility, before mortgages and children and the slow accumulation of years that apparently weren't enough to keep her interested. I closed my eyes and counted to 10, then opened them and returned to my planning. Thursday would tell me if Trevor Walsh was just another Brett, or if there was something else going on. The library ledger showed 3 months of regular meetings, but Mrs. Patel had mentioned romance novels passed under tables. Code for something, probably. Notes, maybe. Or burner phones. Or hotel keycards. I'd know soon enough. My phone buzzed again. Text from Emily. Dad, can you Venmo me $60 for textbooks? Used ones, but still expensive LL. I sent the money and added a heart emoji. She responded with 3 hearts and a book emoji. Simple. Uncomplicated. The way love was supposed to work. I finished the cold tea and started drafting an email to my editor, requesting Thursday afternoon off. Personal appointment, non-negotiable. She'd understand. I never took time off, never missed deadlines, never asked for special treatment. 1 afternoon, 2 hours. That's all I needed. The rest would follow like dominoes. The private investigator called back at 9:30 that night. I was in my office, going through the screenshots again, cross-referencing dates with my calendar to see what I'd been doing while my wife was in study booth 7. Mr. Photographer, Dennis Kowalski said. His voice sounded like gravel in a blender. Got what you needed on Trevor Walsh. I grabbed a pen. Go ahead. Trevor James Walsh, 38, financial analyst at Bridgewater Associates. Married to Nicole Walsh, née Brennan, for 12 years. 2 kids. Daughter Madison, 10, son Connor, 7. They live in the West Hampton subdivision, about 4 miles from you. Nice place. $500,000 mortgage. I wrote it all down. What else? Clean record. No priors, no bankruptcies, no liens. Pays his bills on time. Coaches his son's soccer team. Regular at First Presbyterian Church. Dennis paused. Want me to dig deeper? Not yet. I stared at the name I'd written. Nicole Walsh. Can you get me her contact information? Email and cell phone, coming your way in 5 minutes. Anything else? Thursday afternoon, 2 o'clock, Chicago Public Library, main branch. I need you there with a camera as backup. You going to be there too? I'm shooting it myself. Professional equipment. But I want a second set of eyes, different angles. I tapped my pen against the notepad. Can you get inside study booth 7 without being seen? Dennis laughed, short and sharp. Kid, I've been doing this for 23 years. I can get anywhere. Don't call me kid. Fair enough? His tone shifted, became more serious. You sure you want to do this? Confrontation photography gets messy. People react in unpredictable ways. I'm not confronting anyone. I'm documenting. Right. He didn't sound convinced. You want me to tail the wife after? See where she goes, who she talks to? I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, both of them. I want to know if they panic, if they contact each other, if they try to cover anything up. Hourly rate continues as long as I'm working. That's fine. You got it. I'll send you Nicole Walsh's information now. See you Thursday at 1:45. I'll be the guy who doesn't look like he's watching anything. He hung up. The email arrived 3 minutes later. Nicole Walsh's cell phone number. Her personal email address. Her work email. She was an elementary school teacher at Brookside Elementary. Her Facebook profile, Instagram handle, LinkedIn page. I opened Facebook first. Her profile picture showed a woman with dark hair pulled back in a practical bun, smiling at the camera with laugh lines around her eyes. The kind of smile that looked real. Behind her, 2 kids, a girl with braces and a boy missing his front teeth, made silly faces. Her latest post was from yesterday. Connor's team won their game 3-2. So proud of these kids. Soccer mom proud parent. Below it, Trevor Walsh had commented with a thumbs up emoji. I scrolled through her timeline. Birthday parties, school events, family dinners, a vacation to Disney World last summer, Halloween costumes, Christmas morning, the whole catalog of normal family life, documented in cheerful captions and filtered photos, just like Amber's Facebook page. I closed the browser before I could think about it too long. Tuesday morning, Amber left for yoga at 9. I waited until her car disappeared down the street, then went to her desk. The library fine manipulation had worked. Her account now showed $47.80 in overdue charges, just enough to trigger the booking restriction. But I needed to make sure she couldn't simply pay it off before Thursday. I logged into her library account using the password I'd memorized. Navigated to her borrowing history. She had 3 books checked out currently. The Paris Apartment, The Silent Patient, and The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. All due back yesterday. I clicked through to the renewal page and selected Do Not Renew. Then I went into her account settings and changed her email address to one I'd created that morning. A Gmail account that looked similar enough to hers that she wouldn't notice if she glanced at it. Email protected. Instead of email protected. Now, all library notifications would come to me instead of her. I checked the fine schedule. Each book would accrue 25 cents per day. In 2 more days, she'd be at $49.30. In a week, she'd be over $60. The system would automatically suspend her borrowing privileges at $50. Perfect. I logged out and cleared the browser history. That afternoon, I drove to the camera shop on West Madison Street. The owner, Frank, had been selling me equipment for 12 years. He looked up from behind the counter when I walked in. "Hey, stranger, what brings you by?" "I need to rent something. Low light specialist. Silent shutter. Something that won't draw attention." Frank's eyebrows went up. "Surveillance work?" "Personal project." He studied my face for a moment, then nodded. "Come on back." In the back room, he pulled out a Sony A7S III with a 24-70mm f2.8 lens. "This'll shoot clean at ISO 25600, silent electronic shutter. No mechanical click at all. You could fire this thing in a library and nobody would hear it." The word library hit me harder than it should have. "That'll work," I said. "You'll need a second body for backup." He grabbed another camera, identical to the first. "And I'm guessing you want something for distance too." "Yeah." He handed me a 7200mm f2.8. "This'll let you shoot from across a room. Image stabilization, silent operation, sharp as hell, even wide open." I took both cameras, both lenses, 3 extra batteries, and 4 memory cards. Frank packed everything into a discreet black shoulder bag that looked like it could hold a laptop. "When do you need it back?" "Friday morning." "No problem." He rang it up, then paused before handing me the receipt. "You okay, man? You look like you haven't slept in a week." "I'm fine." "Right?" He didn't believe me. "Well, good luck with your personal project." Wednesday evening, Amber came into my office while I was editing photos from a corporate shoot. She leaned against the doorframe, wearing one of my old college sweatshirts and yoga pants. "Hey," she said, "you've been working a lot lately." I didn't look up from the monitor. "Busy season." "I know, She crossed the room and put her hand on my shoulder. "I miss you." The touch made my skin crawl. I forced myself not to pull away. "I'm right here," I said. "You know what I mean." Her fingers moved to the back of my neck, familiar and gentle. "When's the last time we had a date night? Just the two of us?" I could feel her wedding ring against my skin. 15 years. We'd picked it out together at a jewelry store in Old Town. Spent 3 hours looking at different bands before she found the one she loved. White gold with a thin row of tiny diamonds. "Simple and elegant," she'd said. She was still wearing it. "Soon," I said. "After this deadline." "Okay." She kissed the top of my head. "I'm going to take a bath. Want to join me later?" "Maybe." She left. I heard her footsteps on the stairs, then the sound of water running through the pipes. I pulled up her library account on my phone. The fines had hit $48.55. Tomorrow, they'd cross $50. Her borrowing privileges would suspend automatically at midnight. Study Booth 7 was reserved under my name for Thursday at 2 o'clock. Dennis Kowalski would be there at 1:45. I had the cameras packed and ready in my trunk. Nicole Walsh's phone number was saved in my contacts under N. Walsh Teacher. Everything was ready. I just had to wait one more day. Thursday morning arrived cold and gray. Amber left for the gym at 8:30, kissed me goodbye like she always did, told me she'd be back around noon. She was wearing new workout clothes, expensive-looking leggings and a matching sports bra under a zip-up jacket. The kind of outfit you wore when you wanted to look good. I wondered if she'd go home to change before meeting Trevor, or if she'd just freshen up in the library bathroom. Probably the bathroom. Less time away from the house. Fewer questions if I happened to call. After she left, I checked her library account one final time. $50.05 in fines. Account suspended. She couldn't book any rooms even if she tried. But she wouldn't try. She thought she already had Study Booth 7 reserved for 2 o'clock, just like she had for the past 3 months. Every Tuesday and Thursday, same time, same place. Except today, I'd be there instead. I woke up Thursday morning to the smell of coffee and Amber humming in the kitchen. The sound made my stomach turn. Not nervousness. I was past that. Just the wrongness of it. The cognitive dissonance of listening to my wife prepare breakfast while I mentally reviewed the timeline for documenting her with another man in 6 hours. I checked my phone. 7:14 a.m. Kowalski had sent a message at 6:30. Equipment in position, tested angles, clean sightlines from reference stacks. You're good to go. One photo attached. The view from between two shelves of oversized art books, looking directly at Study Booth 7. Through the glass walls, I could see the small table, 2 chairs, the privacy shade currently open. By 2 p.m. today, that shade would be closed. Amber and Trevor would be inside. And I'd have photographic evidence that would hold up in any divorce proceeding in Illinois. "Breakfast," Amber called up the stairs. I dressed slowly. Jeans, dark gray shirt, comfortable shoes, nothing that would draw attention in a library. I'd learned that working events, the best photographers blend into the background. Tyler was already at the table, shoveling scrambled eggs into his mouth between gulps of orange juice. Amber stood at the stove, still in her robe, blonde ponytail swinging as she flipped pancakes. "Morning," she said, smiling at me. "You look nice. Something special today?" "Client meeting." The lie came easily now. "Probably running until late afternoon." "Oh." She set a plate in front of me. "I've got book club at 2. We're finally finishing that romance novel I told you about." Tyler snorted. "Mom's book club just drinks wine and gossips." "We discuss literature," Amber said primly, ruffling his hair. "You wouldn't understand." I cut into my pancakes, watching her. She'd gotten better at lying over the past 3 months. Or maybe I'd just gotten better at seeing through it. The casual mention of book club, the specific time, the little detail about the romance novel, all of it designed to sound authentic. What Trevor Walsh didn't know was that his wife Nicole would be receiving a very detailed email at 2:15 p.m. today. What Amber didn't know was that book club had been canceled the moment Mrs. Patel suspended her library privileges. Except I'd fixed that yesterday. I'd called the library from a burner phone, impersonating Amber, claiming the fines were a mistake. I'd paid them remotely using a prepaid card, then confirmed her account was active again. Mrs. Patel had been confused but processed it, because I needed Amber to walk into that library today thinking everything was normal. "What romance novel?" I asked. Amber didn't miss a beat. "The one set in Scotland, with the time travel. Everyone's been reading it." "Sounds interesting." "It's okay," she shrugged. "Kind of predictable, honestly. But the other ladies love it." Tyler pushed back from the table. "I'm gonna be late. Dad, can you drive me?" "Sure." I stood, grateful for the exit. "Get your stuff." In the car, Tyler was quiet until we hit the main road. Then, "Is Mom okay?" My hands tightened on the wheel. "What do you mean?" "I don't know. She's been weird lately. Like, happy but fake happy. You know?" 8th graders were more perceptive than people gave them credit for. "She's fine. Just stressed with stuff." "Adult stuff?" "Yeah." He nodded, accepting this. "Cool. Can I get Chipotle after practice?" "Sure." I dropped him at school, watched him jog toward the gym entrance with his basketball bag bouncing against his back. Thought about what the next few weeks would look like for him. Thought about Emily, currently in a dorm room 300 miles away, unaware that her family was about to implode. Then I pushed it away. I'd deal with that after. Right now, I had work to do. The Chicago Public Library opened at 10 a.m. I arrived at 10:15, carrying my camera bag and a notebook. Just another patron doing research. Mrs. Patel was at the reference desk. She gave me a subtle nod as I passed. We'd spoken on the phone yesterday. She knew what was happening today, knew why I'd paid Amber's fines. She'd seemed almost pleased to be part of it. "Some people," she'd said, "treat the library like it's a cheap motel. It's disrespectful." Study Booth 7 was empty. I walked past it toward the back corner where Kowalski had positioned the equipment. The reference section on American art history was deserted. Exactly why he'd chosen it. Between modernism in the Midwest and Chicago architecture 1950-2000, I found the first camera. Tiny thing, no bigger than a matchbox, wedged between books with just the lens visible. I checked the angle. Perfect view of the booth. The second camera was positioned in the periodicals section, tucked behind bound volumes of old magazines. Another clean angle, different perspective. Kowalski had done good work. I found a table in the main reading room with a sightline to the booth and settled in. Opened my notebook. To anyone watching, I was just another person working quietly. My camera bag sat at my feet, equipment ready. 11:30 a.m., 12 p.m., 12:45 p.m. I made myself eat a sandwich from the library cafe, drank water, stayed calm. At 1:30, I moved to my final position, a study carrel in the reference stacks, 20 feet from the booth. Close enough to see clearly. Far enough to stay invisible. I had my camera out now, telephoto lens attached, settings adjusted for the library's fluorescent lighting. Resting on the desk in front of me like I was photographing book pages for research. 1:45 p.m. The library was moderately busy. Students at computers, elderly patrons browsing newspapers, a mother reading to two small children in the kids section. Normal Thursday afternoon. 1:52 p.m. Trevor Walsh arrived first. I recognized him from the photo Kowalski had provided. Mid-30s, tall, athletic build, wearing business casual, khakis, and a button-down with the sleeves rolled up. He carried a leather messenger bag and walked with the confidence of someone who belonged here. He went straight to study booth 7, glanced around casually, then went inside and closed the door. The privacy shade came down. My heart rate stayed steady. Photographer's discipline. I'd shot war zones, natural disasters, crime scenes. This was just another assignment. 1:57 p.m. Amber walked in wearing yoga pants and a fitted jacket, her hair down instead of in its usual ponytail. She had a canvas tote bag that I recognized from home, the one she used for groceries. She looked beautiful. That was the worst part. She looked happy and alive and beautiful, and she was walking toward another man with the same smile she'd given me at breakfast. She didn't glance around, didn't hesitate, just walked straight to study booth 7 and went inside. The door closed. The shade was already down. I raised my camera. Through the telephoto lens, I could see their silhouettes through the frosted glass. Two figures moving together. An embrace. His hand on her back. Her arms around his neck. Click, click, click. The camera's shutter was nearly silent, but each shot felt like a gunshot in my head. They separated. Sat down at the table. I couldn't see details through the shade, just shapes and movement. Trevor leaning forward. Amber laughing. I could tell by the tilt of her head, the gesture I'd seen 10,000 times. This was what Kowalski's cameras were for. The angles he'd set up would capture everything through the glass walls from the sides, where the shade didn't quite reach the corners. But I needed my own photos, too. Evidence I'd gathered myself. I waited. At 2:08 p.m., Trevor stood, moved around the table. Amber stood too. They came together again, and this time the embrace lasted longer. His hands moved down her back, her head tilted up. Click, click, click. They were kissing. I couldn't see it clearly through the frosted glass, but I knew. The way their silhouettes merged, the duration, the body language. 15 years of marriage, 2 children, a mortgage, a life, a history. And she was kissing Trevor Walsh in study booth 7 at the Chicago Public Library on a Thursday afternoon. I took 17 more photos. At 2:23 p.m. they separated. Sat down again. Talking, probably. Planning their next meeting. Discussing their spouses, their alibis, their careful schedules. I lowered my camera and pulled out my phone. Composed an email to Nicole Walsh. Attached the photos Kowalski had sent me earlier, the ones from previous Thursdays, time-stamped and clear. Added today's date and location. Subject line: your husband's Thursday afternoon meetings. My finger hovered over send. Then I heard Mrs. Patel's voice, loud enough to carry across the reading room. Excuse me, but I'm going to need you to open that door. She was standing outside study booth 7, knocking firmly on the glass. I stood frozen in the reference stacks, camera still in my hands, as Mrs. Patel knocked again on the glass door of study booth 7. Library policy requires study rooms to remain visible, she called out, her voice carrying across the second floor. Please raise the privacy shade. Through my telephoto lens, I watched the silhouettes inside go still. A moment of panic, probably. Then movement. Someone adjusting clothing, creating distance. The shade lifted halfway. Mrs. Patel peered inside, nodded curtly, and walked away. But the damage was done. Through the now visible gap, I could see Amber's face clearly. Flushed, guilty, straightening her jacket. Trevor sat across from her, running his hand through his hair, looking anywhere but at the door. I took 3 more photos. Clear shots this time. Faces identifiable. Body language unmistakable. Then I packed my camera, collected the hidden equipment Kowalski had planted, and left the library through the side exit. In my car, I sat for 10 minutes before my hands stopped shaking. Not from anger anymore, from finality. From the weight of what came next. I pulled out my phone and sent the email to Nicole Walsh. Then I called my attorney. The divorce took 8 months. Amber tried to deny everything at first, claimed Trevor was just a friend from college, that they'd been studying together. Book club. Innocent. A misunderstanding. Then I showed her the screenshots from Brett, the hotel receipts, the explicit messages, the timeline I'd built showing 2 separate affairs running simultaneously on carefully coordinated schedules. She cried, begged, promised it was a mistake, a midlife crisis, something she'd fix if I just gave her another chance. I filed for divorce on grounds of adultery. Illinois is a no-fault state, but fault still matters for asset division and custody. My attorney, a sharp woman named Patricia Hayes, built a case so airtight that Amber's lawyer advised her to settle. We split everything 50-50, except I got the lake house. She didn't fight it. Couldn't, really, given what she'd texted Brett about planning to meet him there. I got primary custody of Tyler. Emily was old enough that the court let her choose. She picked me, though she still sees her mother every other weekend. The hurt in her voice when I explained what happened is something I'll carry forever. Did you ever love each other? She'd asked. Yes, I told her. Once we did. Trevor Walsh's marriage ended too. Nicole filed 2 days after receiving my email. She sent me a thank you note a month later, brief, formal, but sincere. We never spoke beyond that. Brett disappeared from Amber's life the moment I confronted her. Blocked her number, deleted his social media. I never bothered tracking him down. He wasn't worth the effort. Amber moved into a condo in Lincoln Park, got a job at an art gallery, started therapy. We're civil now, for the kids' sake, but there's nothing left between us except shared history and legal obligations. Sometimes I wonder if I should have confronted her earlier, given her a chance to explain before I built my case. But then I remember the timestamps on those messages, the calculated deception, the way she'd kissed me goodbye before meeting another man. Some betrayals don't deserve second chances. 2 years later, I was shooting a wedding at the Chicago Botanic Garden when I saw Mrs. Patel in the crowd. She was a guest, dressed in a beautiful sari, watching the ceremony with tears in her eyes. During the reception, she found me by the buffet table. "Mr. Coleman," she said, "I wasn't sure you'd remember me." "I remember." She studied my face. "Are you well?" I'm better? It was true. The anger had faded into something quieter. Acceptance, maybe. Thank you for what you did. That day in the library. I've worked there for 32 years, she said. I've seen many things. Some people use libraries to learn, to grow. Others use them to hide. She paused. I don't like when people hide. Neither do I. She smiled, patted my arm, and returned to her table. I finished shooting the wedding. A young couple, early 20s, laughing through their vows with the kind of innocent joy that made my chest ache. They had no idea what marriage could become. The slow erosion of trust, the careful construction of lies. The moment when you realize the person sleeping next to you is a stranger. But maybe they'd be different. Maybe they'd choose honesty over convenience, communication over deception. Maybe they'd be lucky. Tyler's in high school now, starting point guard on the varsity team, honor roll student, good kid despite everything. He doesn't talk about the divorce much, but sometimes I catch him watching me with this look, like he's trying to figure out if love is real or just something people pretend at until it falls apart. I don't have a good answer for him. Emily graduated from state last spring. She's in grad school now, studying psychology. She told me once that she's writing her thesis on infidelity and family systems. I asked if our divorce inspired it. Everything inspires everything, she said. That's what you taught me about photography, right? Every moment matters. She was right. I did teach her that. Every moment does matter. Every choice compounds. Every small deception builds towards something larger, until one day you're standing in a library with a camera, documenting the end of everything you thought you knew. I still do photography, weddings mostly, corporate events, the occasional portrait session. I'm good at capturing moments, the split second when someone's real self shows through, when the performance drops and truth appears. It's ironic, I suppose. I spent 15 years missing the truth in my own home while I photographed it in strangers' lives. But I see clearly now. I date occasionally. Nothing serious. I'm not sure I trust myself to recognize authenticity anymore, to distinguish between genuine affection and practice performance. Maybe that'll change. Maybe it won't. What I know is this. Betrayal doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive with warning signs and clear evidence. It hides in yoga classes and book clubs and library study rooms. It wears your wife's smile and speaks in her voice and sleeps in your bed. And the only defense against it is attention. Real attention. Not the passive coexistence that masquerades as marriage, but active engagement. Asking questions. Noticing changes. Trusting your instincts when something feels wrong. I didn't do that. I worked 60-hour weeks and paid the bills and assumed that was enough. I took her word for everything, yoga, book club, girls' nights, because questioning felt like distrust, and distrust felt like failure. But blind trust isn't love. It's just laziness dressed up as virtue. Last month, I was cleaning out the garage and found our wedding album. I sat on the concrete floor and flipped through it, studying the photos some colleague had taken 17 years ago. There we were, 23 years old, ridiculously happy, convinced we'd figured out something that had eluded countless others. The photos were technically perfect. Good composition, proper exposure, genuine emotion captured in every frame. But they were also lies. Not intentional ones. We meant those vows when we spoke them. We believed in forever when we kissed under that flower arch. But intentions don't matter when actions contradict them. Beliefs don't matter when behavior betrays them. I closed the album and put it in the donation box. Some moments don't deserve to be preserved. If there's a lesson in all this, it's not about marriage or fidelity or the importance of trust. Those are obvious. Everyone knows you're supposed to be faithful, supposed to communicate, supposed to honor your commitments. The real lesson is simpler and harder. Pay attention to the small changes, the new perfume, the extra care with appearance before yoga class, The phone turned face down on the table, the vague answers about how the day went. Pay attention to the distance that grows between you, the conversations that used to flow easily but now feel forced, the intimacy that shifts from genuine to performative. Pay attention before you're standing in a library with a camera, documenting the wreckage of everything you built. Because by then, it's too late to save anything. You can only document what's already been destroyed. Tyler asked me last week if I'd ever get married again. We were shooting hoops in the driveway, our Thursday evening ritual, the one consistent thing in our reorganized life. I don't know, I told him honestly. Maybe. Would that bother you? He shrugged, taking a shot that bounced off the rim. I just want you to be happy. I am happy. Are you? He caught the rebound, held the ball. You're okay, Dad, but I don't know if you're happy. Smart kid. Too smart, maybe. I'm working on it, I said. He nodded, passed me the ball. That's all anyone can do, right? Work on it. Right? Work on it. Pay attention. Choose honesty. Build something real instead of something that looks real from the outside while rotting from within. It's not complicated. It's just hard. And most people, myself included, don't do the hard thing until it's too late. I took the shot. It went in clean. Nothing but net. Nice, Tyler said. We played until dark, the sound of the basketball echoing through the neighborhood, and for those few moments, everything was simple again. Just a father and son, a driveway and a hoop, the uncomplicated rhythm of pass and shoot and rebound. Some moments are worth preserving after all.